I never thought I'd be the guy writing in a relationship advice subreddit about how my wife betrayed me. Honestly, I never saw it coming. We'd been together for 5 years, and I genuinely thought we were solid. She was the kind of woman who'd hold my hand in public, look at me with that warm smile, and say she loved me more than anything. We were planning to adopt. I could see the finish line, the shared dreams of a family, the quiet mornings, the late-night talks about future plans. It all felt so real, so safe. Then I found the messages. It started with a strange gut feeling. You know that feeling when something's off but you can't quite put your finger on it. I'd notice her being unusually secretive with her phone. She'd swear she wasn't hiding anything, but her eyes would dart away when I looked at her. Still, I brushed it off. Maybe she was just tired or stressed, but that maybe kept gnawing at me. One night I was sitting on the couch scrolling through my phone, waiting for her to come home from work. The house was dead silent, the kind of quiet that makes your heartbeat sound loud in your ears. That's when I saw it, a message notification lighting up her phone screen. I wasn't even trying to look, it just caught my eye as she walked in the door. A name I didn't recognize, Mike. My stomach clenched. I hesitated, then quietly slipped the phone out of her bag while she was busy hanging her coat. The message was short but explicit. Can't wait to see you tonight. The boss's suite is perfect for us. Don't forget the code. My hands went cold. I read it twice, and each word felt like a punch to the gut. My mind spun. I'd seen her text him before, but this was different. This wasn't just casual flirting. The way she texted him, those late-night messages, the secret code words, the way she'd stiffen when I'd ask about work, everything clicked into place. The late hours, the quick excuses, the way she'd avoid my gaze when I questioned her about her phone. I locked the phone back where I found it, my hands trembling. I felt a rush of heat flood my face. My jaw clenched so hard I thought I'd break. My teeth. I needed to find out more. I snuck into her email, her social media, anything that could confirm my suspicions. There were more messages hidden in her email drafts, deleted from her chat history, but I'd saved copies. It was like digging through a graveyard of lies. She'd been cheating on me with her boss during the whole adoption process. It felt surreal, like a slap in the face. How could she do this to me when we were so close to bringing a child into this world? I could feel a swelling anger, but underneath that was this cold, sick feeling of betrayal. I didn't just lose trust. I felt like I'd been sucker punched in the stomach. That night, I sat on the edge of our bed, clutching the evidence. My palms were slick with sweat, and my heart pounded so loud I thought everyone in the house could hear it. I kept looking at her sleeping figure, peaceful and unaware. I wanted to wake her, confront her, but part of me just stared at her, realizing everything I believed about her was a lie. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't keep living in this fog of lies, but I also didn't want to blow up everything without a plan. I needed to be smart. She'd been so convincing, so loving until I caught her. I felt betrayed, but I also felt a fire ignite inside me. She crossed a line, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I stayed awake that night thinking about what I'd do next. I'd seen enough. It was time to plan my revenge, to turn this betrayal back on her in my own way. I'd spent years trusting her blindly, but now I saw her for what she truly was, a liar, a cheat, a woman capable of betraying everything we built together. And I was done being the fool. Next, I'll tell you how I started putting my plan into motion, how I gathered evidence, set my traps, and got ready to confront her. The moment I decided to stop being the victim. The more I sat with the evidence I'd uncovered, the more I felt the burning need to do something, anything, to reclaim some sense of control. I knew I couldn't just blow up in anger and hope for the best. That's how fools get crushed. No, I had to be smart. I had to turn her betrayal into my advantage. First thing I did was clear my head. I took a few deep breaths, tried to push down the surge of rage. I knew I needed a plan, one that would hurt her just enough to make her realize what she'd lost, without revealing everything too soon. I started by changing my approach, becoming colder, more distant. I didn't want her to suspect I knew. For a few days, I kept my eyes open but acted normal, smiling at her, helping around the house, while secretly gathering more proof. I set up a few hidden recording devices around the house. Nothing elaborate, just small voice recorders I bought online. I knew she would slip up if I stayed silent long enough. I also started watching her routines closely. Her phone was constantly in her hand, even when she thought I wasn't paying attention. I learned her favorite hiding spots, behind the mirror in the drawer of her nightstand, and I slipped notes and small cameras to monitor her movements when she was alone. What I didn't expect was how quickly she slipped into her usual routine again, acting so normal, so affectionate when she wanted to. It was like she didn't realize that I had turned into a detective. One day I caught her in a lie. She was pretending to be busy with work, but I saw her sneaking a message to him while she was supposed to be on a conference call. Her voice was soft, almost breathless as she whispered into her phone. I had to suppress my anger. This was just the confirmation I needed. I confronted her during dinner that night. I kept my voice calm, but my eyes burned. Who is Mike, really? I found the messages. I know what you've been doing. Her face froze. For a second she looked genuinely surprised, then the mask of control slipped. It's not what you think, she mumbled, avoiding my gaze. It's complicated, really, because it looks pretty straightforward to me, I snapped. You've been lying to my face for months, sneaking around, pretending everything's perfect. How could you do this during our adoption process? Did you think I wouldn't find out? She looked down, her hands trembling. I didn't mean for it to happen, it just did. I was confused. That was it. I realized I had all the evidence I needed. The plan was starting to come together. I didn't want her to get away with it, no way. But I had to be patient. I decided that I'd give her just enough rope to hang herself. I wanted her to believe she was still in control, but I was already planning my next move. While she slept that night, I set up a little trap. I left a fake message on her phone, a message I'd written myself, implying I knew everything and that I was ready to confront her for good. I left it in her inbox where she'd see it in the morning. I wanted her to feel like she was caught, like her secret was about to blow up in her face. That feeling, that sick, guilty realization, was what I was aiming for. The next day she was restless, more frantic than usual. She kept checking her phone, acting nervous. I could see the panic in her eyes, the way she kept brushing her hair back, trying to pretend everything was fine. I stayed quiet. I wanted her to stew in her own guilt, to think she had the upper hand when in reality I was just getting started. I knew I needed to keep her off balance. So I told her I arranged for a talk, a serious one. She looked at me with a mixture of fear and defiance, but I could see her trembling. Inside, I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and cold fury. I was building my case, preparing for the final act. I was ready to make her see that I was not the fool she thought I was. I had the evidence more than enough. And now I had her cornered. The worst part, I could feel the numbness creeping in, that hollow space inside where all my trust used to live. It was like watching my entire world turn to ash, and I knew I'd have to burn it all down to get my revenge. Next, I'll tell you how I executed the confrontation, the moment I finally laid everything out and what happened afterward, the aftermath that changed everything. The moment finally arrived. I set the scene carefully, making sure the house felt quiet, tense like the calm before a storm. I told her we needed to talk seriously about everything. She looked nervous, almost like she knew this wasn't going to end well, but she also thought she could somehow talk her way out of it. That's what made it satisfying. Her confidence was cracking, and I was about to shatter it completely. I sat across from her with the evidence spread out on the table, printouts of the messages, the fake note I'd left, recordings I'd secretly captured. Her eyes kept darting to the papers, her breathing shallow. I could see the panic rising behind her eyes. I didn't bother sugarcoating anything. I confronted her directly. Are you going to tell me this was just a mistake, or were you planning to keep this secret until forever? I asked, voice steady but cold. She swallowed hard, then looked away. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It just happened. I got caught up in everything. I loved you. I still do. Love, really. You're cheating on me with your boss during the biggest moment of our lives, our adoption, and you're telling me it was just some mistake. I cut her off. You lied to my face every day, pretending everything was perfect. You think I'm stupid. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't say anything. All her words had dried up. That's when I knew I had her right where I wanted her. I've been patient, I continued, voice dripping with resentment, but enough is enough. You've broken this marriage beyond repair. I want you out of the house. Her face twisted with shock. Please don't do this. I swear I'll make it right. Just give me a chance. No, I said sharply. You had your chance. You chose him over everything we had. Over me, over the family we were trying to build. I don't want to hear any more lies. Pack your stuff. You're leaving tonight. She collapsed onto the couch, voice trembling. Can't we just— No, I repeated, my voice firm. You made your choice. I'm done. Do not contact me again. But I wasn't finished. I had one more move to make her regret every lie, every betrayal. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions. I knew where she kept her phone, so I took it and set up a simple but pointed message, one that she'd see first thing tomorrow. I left it on her screen. You lost everything. Goodbye. That night I watched her pack her bag with trembling hands, her face streaked with tears. I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. She thought she was the one in control, but I was the one pulling the strings all along. The fallout was immediate. She left early the next morning, her voice cracking as she begged me to reconsider. I didn't listen. I just handed her the keys to her apartment, told her she could take everything she wanted, and then took a deep breath as I closed the door behind her for good. I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. Betrayal cuts deep, but revenge is a strange comfort. It's like putting a bandage on a wound you'd rather forget. I knew this wasn't the end of it, but for now, I had made her see that I wasn't going to be played for a fool anymore. Standing there in the silence, I realized I'd taken back some control. But the biggest lesson: trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to fix. If you're in a situation like mine, remember, you don't have to accept betrayal as the end. Sometimes, you need to take matters into your own hands to reclaim your dignity. Next, I'll reflect on what all of this taught me, how I moved forward, and what I'd advise anyone else stuck in a similar situation. After she was gone and the house fell silent, I just stood there for a long moment, processing everything. Honestly, I expected relief, maybe even some sense of closure. But instead, I felt this hollow ache deep in my chest. It was like my heart had been squeezed so tight I couldn't breathe properly. The betrayal was one thing, but the aftermath, knowing I'd lost the woman I loved, felt worse. I knew I needed to sit down and really think about what I'd just done. Was it justice, revenge, or just venting a rage I couldn't control? Honestly, I'm still not sure. But I do know this: I'd taken back some of my strength. I wasn't the fool anymore. I'd seized control, even if it left me feeling empty. The days that followed were a blur. I spent a lot of time alone, staring at the empty space where she used to sleep. My mind kept circling back to the moments I'd missed, the missed signals, the signs I ignored. I kept replaying those late-night calls, the secret messages, the way her eyes avoided me when I asked about her work. It all felt like a sick movie I'd been a part of, but I was finally starting to see the truth. I reached out to a few friends, people I trusted. I needed someone to talk to, someone who wouldn't judge but could give me honest advice. That was a hard call to make. I didn't want to look weak, but I also didn't want to carry this weight alone. Surprisingly, a couple of close friends actually listened. Man, one of them said, she was cheating on you the whole time. Don't beat yourself up. You did what you had to do, just don't let her take your soul in the process. That helped, a little. I realized I had to rebuild from this, piece by piece. I couldn't let her betrayal destroy me, but I also knew I had to accept what was gone. I was angry, yes, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe again. I started going back to work, throwing myself into routines I'd neglected. I didn't want her to think she'd won by breaking me. I kept a close eye on my finances, making sure I was prepared for whatever came next. I even started talking to a counselor, not because I thought I was crazy, but because I needed a way to process all this rage and grief. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done, sitting there, voice trembling as I admitted how betrayed I felt. One thing I realized was that I couldn't stay angry forever. That's what kept my mind spinning in circles. I had to find some way to move forward, to reclaim my peace. So I started making small plans, cleaning out her stuff, getting rid of the reminders, and trying to piece together what my future would look like without her. Honestly, I still feel some anger every day. But it's different now, less consuming, more manageable. It's a reminder that I survived, that I took control back. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I won't be a pawn in her betrayal anymore. Looking back, I'd say this: trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to repair. But revenge, sometimes it's the only way to wake yourself up. I don't recommend letting it consume you, but if you're in a similar mess, know that you have the power to take control again. You just have to be willing to face the pain and do what's necessary. Next, I'll share what I've learned from all of this, what advice I'd give to someone who's been betrayed, and how I'm trying to rebuild what's left of my life. It's been a few weeks since she left, and I've had a lot of time to think about everything that happened. Honestly, I go through waves. Sometimes I feel angry, sometimes numb, and other times just weary. The betrayal cut deep, and I'm still trying to piece myself back together. But through all that, I've realized a few things I'd want anyone in my position to know. First off, trust is fragile. Once it's broken, it's not just a crack, it's shattered. And no matter how much you want to fix it, some cracks can't be mended. That realization hurts, but it's also freeing. It means I don't have to keep trying to pretend everything's okay. I can start over, rebuild my life from scratch. Second, revenge isn't a cure-all. It's tempting to want to lash out to make her feel as miserable as I did. But I learned that revenge only prolongs the pain. It's like feeding a fire. Sure, it burns brightly for a moment, but it leaves ashes behind. I chose a different path, cutting ties clean, walking away, and focusing on myself. That's been the hardest but the most necessary choice. Third, I learned that forgiveness isn't about her. It's about freeing yourself from the chains of anger. I don't think I'm ready for that yet, but I know I have to find a way to let go of the rage or it'll consume me. I've started working on that, small steps like forgiving myself for trusting her so blindly, forgiving her for the pain she caused. It's not easy, but I realize I have to do it for my own peace. And finally, I've learned to value myself again. I spent so long giving her my trust, my love, my everything, only to get betrayed. That's a hard lesson, but it's also a wake-up call. I can't control her actions, but I can control how I respond. I'm rebuilding my confidence, reminding myself I'm worth more than the lies she told. Throughout this process, I've also come to see how toxic denial can be. I wanted to believe she was everything I thought she was, but ignoring the signs only made it worse. Facing the truth, as brutal as it was, helped me move forward. Sometimes, you need to see your pain in the cold light of day to finally start healing. One thing I'd warn anyone in a similar situation: don't wait too long to face reality. The sooner you confront what's real, the faster you can start reclaiming your life. Don't let guilt or hope keep you tethered to a sinking ship. Sometimes the only way to save yourself is to cut loose and leave the wreckage behind. As for what's next, I'm not sure. I'm taking it one day at a time, working on myself, rediscovering what makes me happy outside of her. It's weird figuring out life without her holding a piece of it, but I know I can do it. I have to. Next, I'll tell you how I'm finally moving toward closure, what concrete steps I've taken to rebuild my life, and what I'd advise anyone else to consider when they're ready to let go. In the end, I realized that closure isn't something someone else can give you. It's something you have to find within yourself. I finally took the steps I needed to truly move forward. I handed over her keys, packed up the last of her things, and officially filed the divorce papers. It felt like finally closing a chapter I'd been stuck in for months, maybe years, trying to ignore the betrayal. When I handed her the final documents, I looked her in the eye and said, "It's over. You're free to go." She looked at me with those tear-streaked eyes like she expected tears, please, some sort of reconciliation. But I just felt numb. I knew I'd done all I could. I'd reclaimed my dignity, even if it cost me the love I once believed in. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive her, but I've accepted that I don't need her approval anymore. What I needed was to stop living in her shadow. The house is quiet now, and honestly, it's peaceful in a strange way. No more secret messages, no more late nights, no more pretending everything was fine. I finally feel like I have some control over my life again. Looking back, I can honestly say that this experience taught me more about myself than I ever expected. I learned that strength isn't just about revenge or confrontation. It's about knowing when to walk away, when to stand up for yourself, and when to let go of what no longer serves you. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is cut your losses and start over. So if there's one thing I'd share with anyone reading this who's going through something similar, it's this. Trust your instincts, face the truth no matter how painful, and don't be afraid to take control of your life again. Betrayal happens, but it doesn't have to define you. You have the power to rebuild, better, stronger, and more aware of what you deserve. As I write this, I feel a strange sense of relief. I know I'll carry some scars from what happened, but I also carry a new sense of confidence. I can look in the mirror and know that I faced the darkness and came out the other side. It's not the ending I thought I'd ever have, but it's the beginning of something new, and that's all I needed to finally move on.